Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And today we have to talk about Dominican Republic tourists, Dominican Republic investors, especially the real estate investors. We need to talk. The numbers for January 2026 are kind of sorta out, but not really, unless you figure cruise. If you have a business that depends on cruise traffic, then I guess that would matter to you more. But if you are an investor where you rely on high season, mid seasons, low seasons, that should matter to you what the real numbers are. Today is not that day. The real numbers are not officially out yet, but I want to start showing you inconsistencies. I raise my eyebrow and welcome. We have to talk. Investors, over 100 of you, have invested in the Dominican Republic who have watched the channel in the past. So again, this does matter for you because some of you, if not most of you, have not had your units delivered yet. If you're doing short-term rentals, or even if you plan on long-term rentals, or if you started a business. So, welcome. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, thank you so much for being here. Please share the videos, because you never know who's out here looking for this information, especially people who are thinking about investing in the Dominican Republic, and those of you who have already invested. Once again, it's 2026, February 7th, 2026. I want to point out, total reversal from what you've heard me discuss before about buying pre-construction properties. If you are, it has to make sense. You have to buy at low prices in the right location. Good news for you. There are some projects, pre-construction even, no credit check, no qualifying, no barriers to entry, that are reducing their prices. There is a one-bedroom unit inside Vistacana. It used to be $125,500. Now they reduced it $10,000. Again, this is pre-construction. So it's now $115,500, which goes to show exactly what I was talking about before. Once again, let's go over to the Stop Struggling Now YouTube podcast channel page, because I need to scroll down so you can see this video right here. The numbers. I'll have a link down below in the description box. You might want to check that out to help you form an opinion whether you have bought before or now. But please share the videos and let people know what's going on. Now, without further ado, let's get into some of the numbers. The first things first. Let me go right here. And this right here came out February 3rd. Dominican Republic sees 8% tourism surge in January despite flight disruptions for snowstorms. So I said, okay, let's go check this out. What are they talking about? And all I have is this. The Dominican Republic's tourism sector has kicked off 26 with a robust growth, recording an 8% increase in visitor arrivals this January compared to the same period last year. The Ministry of Tourism reports arrivals of 1,155,485 visitors in January 2026. So, of course, You guys know what I look for. I'm looking for the actual air arrivals. I don't care about cruise arrivals. Generally, they're on the island for a few hours, spend some money in that one little tourist trap area, maybe even go on an excursion. But that has nothing to do with anybody that's going to be staying there. They're 7.5 nights on average. So that's why if you're planning on using real estate as a vehicle to make money, this matters a lot. You need to know these numbers. So I say, okay, we got 1,155,485. So if you have that amount, then what was the amount in 2025? Because 8% means that we should have close to almost 90,000 more to almost 95,000 more. I have not done the math. You guys can do the math. 8%. So 10%, just to make it easy, would have been 115,000. All right. So 8% clearly can't be 100 and whatever, 110,000, 115,000. So 8% can only be 8 times 11. So we're going to be roughly around 90 to 93,000 additional passengers, correct? You see the number on the screen. So again, I'm a mathematics kind of guy. So I say, let me go to Tourism Analytics and see what they have to say. So I go here to Tourism Analytics. I go look and see what Dominican Republic, that's Caribbean. Let me see if I have the Dominican Republic up here. Here we go. I see here January last year was 759,000 by air, and how many by cruise? So it looks like 375,709 by cruise. So while we're doing this, I might as well just do it while I'm doing the recording, because I'll take the 375,709, which is 375,709 cruise visitors last year. Then I'm going to add to it the air passengers for last year in January of 2025. That's 759,929. That equals 1,135,638. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say it was 1,155,000? Isn't that kind of weird? Yes, 1,155,485. So what I'm going to do is I am going to subtract 1,155,485 from the 1,135,638 from 2025. So let's see what happens. 5, 5, 4, 8, 5. We increased only 19,847. So where's this 8%? Because 8% on top of 759,000, that's also a number. 10% is 75,000. So this is showing less than 20,000. So this 8% number, I think they're doing some Fugazee. Now, the only other problem that we're going to have is we can't figure out what the actual numbers are until either Tourism Analytics releases it or somebody else. All right. Now, I'll get into that shortly, because here's the Cabo Roja. They're going to have 1.4 million cruise passengers in 2026. So again, I caution any investors at the end of this year, they're going to have a total of more visitors or tourists because they combine both of them. That is a major problem when you combine, when people are going to be leaving. So you can already see that this number 11,635,000 is going to be deceiving at the end of 2026 because they are going to add half of the tourists are going to go to that Cabo Rojo area. All right, that port. And they have another 7 ports after that one. So the cruise industry is going to increase significantly, probably. And then they're going to take nearly almost the same visitor number and then say, oh, look, we have over 12.5 million passengers. Or actually, they're probably going to reach 12.9 when you do the combination. That would be my guess, somewhere like that, 12.9 to 13 million. Do not be confused. When I'm talking about investing in the DR, do not be confused. The numbers I'm using are totally different. I'm using for visitors only. Those are the people that stay there on average 7.5 nights. On average, spend $1,400 per week that they stay there. That's what I'm referring to. All else does not matter if you are a real estate investor, because I need more people with boots on the ground that's going to stay there. And when they keep building more hotels, that is a problem. When they keep building, obviously new deliveries are going to come for pre-constructions. That's going to create a problem. If you're only increasing roughly another 300,000, that's not going to cut it. If you're creating 10 to 15,000 units every year with regard to hotel and condos. So let's get back into it, shall we? Because I can't have you guys out here holding the bags. The best deal that I'm going to say right now is very simple. I feel you might want to wait. Do not buy right now unless you can buy something that's ridiculous like at Jardines 4, where they've reduced their prices 2.5 thousand, 2,500 to 5,000 per pre-construction unit. That's right. They're not selling like hotcakes. So that's 2 places that's reducing their prices. Think about it. And you know why. Just check out my previous video that I told you about before, and you'll understand the reasons why. Let's get into these Fugazee numbers, shall we? Because the 8.8% does not come anywhere. There is no location for this. All right? Just keep that in mind. And I think I took off the one that here it is, the Caribbean. Look at this right here. Look at this right here. Year to date, Dominican Republic, ranked in order of percentage change. This was for the year 2025 stopover visitors. Look, this was a negative 1.5% according to Tourism Analytics. All right, just keep all this in mind. So I don't know where they're getting this 8% for the month of January, because the numbers do not dictate this. They should have been well more than 20,000 more people by cruise or by visitors. So just keep all of that in mind when you are looking through information, and I'll have the links down below to this Tourism Analytics for the Caribbean. And just so you understand, this is the Caribbean stopover visitors by air. Look at this. DR is not in the top. Okay? They're at 3.8% 2025. All right, January through December. But you can see there's others higher. Aruba, Bonaire, Trinidad and Tobago, Curacao. And then we go January through September for these other ones in Dominica, St. Vincent, and the Guyana. But the point I'm trying to make is these numbers, when I start seeing them do what the United States does and they're following their lead with false numbers, then you have to be worried and concerned if you are an investor. Just keep that in mind. I can't go with headlines. I go with facts. And the other thing is, let's just keep everything real. We have people who purchased and they have contracts. Almost 100% of the contracts now go with the housing increase, the ICDV. That's what they call it in your contract. That is Statistics 1, and they also do your housing index. That's what that is. Construction housing index. So this is what I'm about to show you on the screen right now, just so you guys understand. This is what number right now? 3.72% year over year, December 2025. Some of you, if you went through an attorney, more than likely your attorney was able to get you something like anything up to 3%, the developer covers. Anything over 3%, the developer does not cover. Or some of you might have up to 3.5. Hopefully, some of you have up to 5% because it went up 3.72%. So some of you, to give you an example, if you bought a $150,000 condo or villa and it hasn't been delivered, you could be on the hook for an additional 3.72%. That's roughly $5,600. That more that you would have to pay, and depending on how your contract reads, if you still have payments, it could be implemented into your payment, so that's an additional amount, or it could be at the end. This is why we talked about these contracts before. There was only 2 developers that had contracts that said no increase at one time. That was Larimar and that was Noval. Noval has changed. I have not seen a Larimar contract, so I don't know if they have changed, but I would not doubt if it's 100% across the board nowadays that they have these clauses in there. And that means some people could be paying a lot more money, $3,700 for every $100,000. And it also depends on how they calculate this. Some places like Cruise on Land, it calculates based on your balance. So in other words, if you've already put down 20% on $100,000 as an example, and you owe you would owe, let's just say 40%. So you would owe 40 grand. I'll try and keep it simple as possible. But the point is, you would owe more money on what, or less money on what you owe, because they go by your balance. All right. So if you've paid 20 grand, your balance is 80. So they're going to charge you. Okay. We went up to 3%. I believe they did. So now you're going to owe 0.72% on that amount. Some people may not have that clause. So you're going to owe 3.72% on 80 grand. Almost 3 grand. In fact, it's going to be pretty close. So that's this year. And again, some would add it in. Some would say at the end on delivery. Either way, you're going to owe more money. So that also has come into play. So the longer it takes to get delivery, the worse it can get for you. It's lucky that it was only 3.72, which is not. Hey, when it gets close to 4%, nobody wants to pay $4,000 more for every $100,000 that they purchase. Some people bought these crazy things, $300,000. They're going to find out real fast if their contract says 3.72%. Hey, you're going to owe us another $12,000 almost. So do you want to start adding that into the payment, or do you want to add it at the end? And some people are not going to like it, especially if their delivery is not for another 2 or 3 years. And if this goes up to 4%, like I predict it will be, or more, because they're getting money printed, once again, that's the situation that's going down. I didn't really want to get into that because that's the whole point of the other video, but I just had to show that as well so everybody understands this is getting crazy out here and you have to protect yourselves. So therefore, protecting yourself means you are going to buy after all the things shake out. Okay? Shaking out means when people get deliveries, they don't have the occupancy rate, they're going to want to sell because they're not going to get a return on investment as they expected. That means the pre-constructions aren't going to sell because they are already now overpriced in a lot of locations. So now you can buy delivered units for less. In fact, there's people in groups that are on Facebook that are saying, my unit's not delivered, I will take a loss. Not every developer does internal. So some people are saying, give me less. I'll take less than what I've already put down and you take over my payments. This is what's going down, as predicted. So with all that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only going to get harder. Your investment dollars can only go to certain locations that for sure is going to make you money. And therefore, you have to look around for all type of opportunities. Volatility in the markets, bond market volatility, crypto volatility, gold, silver, and precious metals volatility. Anything that you're going to put your money into right now is going to be volatile potentially, but you're going to have to make choices. And with all that said, keep your head up. Keep moving. And I'm out.